Hi everybody and welcome once again to Ruby's Classic Cooking. Today I am going to make ice cream sandwiches. This is one of my jelly roll recipe variations. I'm going to take that basic sponge and I'm going to add a quarter of a cup of sifted cocoa. You don't want any lumps in it. And I'm going to add vanilla instead of adding lemon flavoring. I'm going to add vanilla. So those are my two changes in the recipe. Other than that, I'm making the jelly roll base. So I'm going to get on right now with beating my 3 eggs for 5 minutes, adding my cup of sugar to that, and then all of my other ingredients, and my cocoa powder and my flour. I'll be back when I'm ready to put my batter into my pan, my prepared pan, which I have lined with parchment paper sitting over there on the stove. I already preheated my oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit, which I think is, I can't remember what it is in Celsius, but don't worry, all of the Celsius equivalents will be in the recipe below, and the recipe will be down below. So, all right, I've got in here my 3 eggs, which I'm going to be beating. Then I'm going to be adding my cup of sugar to that. Then I'm going to add my vanilla extract, followed by my 3 tablespoons of milk instead of 2 tablespoons of milk. With this quarter cup of cocoa powder I'm adding, I think I might need a little extra liquid in my batter, so I'm going to add another tablespoon of milk. I've got my 2 teaspoons of baking powder and my quarter teaspoon of salt. And right over here, I have the cup of flour that I'm going to be using as the last ingredient. So when I've got all of that put together, I'll be back to show you what the finished batter looks like when I put it on my prepared pan, which is already sitting on the stove with my parchment paper on it. Anyway, I'll be right back in a few minutes and show you what's happening next. If you want to see the full method and the full way of doing this, then watch my video on jelly roll and variations, which is linked below. Hello again, and I am back again with my mixture all done up. My batter is completely mixed here with the chocolate in it. So instead of making a regular jelly roll, what I've done is basically made a chocolate jelly roll. So the recipe will be in the description below. And I'm just going to put this on my pan, my jelly roll pan, which you've seen me use in the other recipe. And if you haven't, it's linked in the description below. Then I'm going to pop this whole thing into my oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit or 205 degrees Celsius. And 8 to 10 minutes from now, this will be coming out of my oven nicely cooked. So I will come back then and show you the resulting cake. And here's my cake all spread out on the pan. 8 to 10 minutes in the oven, 400 degrees Fahrenheit, 205 Celsius. And I'll be back to show you what it looks like when I've got it spread out on my wet tea towel. And here's my cake, nice and hot out of the oven, ready to be turned onto my damp tea towel right here on the counter. And first I want to tell you, it took me 12 minutes to cook this cake instead of the usual 8 to 10. It took me 12. So 10 to 12 is what I'm going to be saying for my baking time. I guess with the cocoa powder it must have made a difference. Anyway, over we go. There you go. Parchment paper peeled off. Cake revealed. Now, my next challenge is to cut it in half here. And then I'm going to take this part and use this for the top half of the sandwich and this for the bottom half of the sandwich. So the ice cream will go in the middle. Now, if you want to make more ice cream sandwiches, you can just make 2 whole bases like this and make double the number. And the pan I used is 15.5 by 10.5 by 1 inch deep jelly roll pan. And now I'm going to cut this in half using my ruler here. My little, see there's a ruler here on the edge of my cutting board. Can you see that, I wonder? Anyway, measures up to 8 inches and I need to measure 7.5. So I'm just going to measure 7.5 inches with my little ruler here. Cut my cake in half. There we go, and I'm going to leave this to cool. So I now have 2 halves of the cake. I'm going to transfer it over. I have a metal cookie sheet over here So I'm going to put it on a piece of saran wrap. I'm then going to put that in. I'm then going to put that in my freezer for about 20 minutes, so the cake gets nice and firm and cold, because I'm going to put ice cream on top of here, and I don't want my ice cream to thaw out, so and be all melty. So that's what I'm going to do next, and I'll come back after I've got this all nicely chilled, and hopefully it will mean my cake will cut nice and evenly. When I did this before, my cake wasn't really cooled off, and what happened is my cake kind of went crumbly. It still tasted great, but you know, they didn't look so great. So I didn't do that video. But this time I'm hoping they're going to cut nicely. And you know, I know this doesn't look really heavily chocolate like the bottom ones do, but by the time you put a really good quality vanilla ice cream on this and cut them up and put them in individual Ziploc bags, you know what, or wrap them up in saran, or however you want to wrap them up individually, I don't think people are going to care, because they're going to taste they taste really chocolatey with the with this cocoa powder on them. So anyway, I'm just going to let these cool off a bit so the cake sets up a little bit. I'll probably get this 5 minutes sitting here on this tea towel, and then I'll transfer it over to my metal pan here. Okay, here I am back again with the cake all nicely chilled from having been in the freezer. And I'm going to put this on my cutting board here. And now I'm going to cut it into ice cream sandwiches once I spread it with ice cream. Yeah. And I have my 500 milliliter tub of good quality ice cream here. Happens to be Haagen-Dazs actually, vanilla. And I'm going to scoop this onto my sandwiches and make my filling. Yum. And then I'll put my sandwiches together and cut them up. Okay, here's my ice cream spread in a nice thick layer. That's 500 milliliters, that's 2 cups. I'm now going to put the top on my ice cream. Here, let me just tilt this camera down a little bit. Let's put this on here like this. There we go. My big ice cream sandwich. I'm going to cut my sandwiches in 2 pieces, 2.5 by 5 inches. So I'm going to cut the 5 inches right across the middle here. The 10-inch side. There we go. Cut that right down into the bottom. And now the other way is going to be 2.5 inches. That's one sandwich. Here's a second one. Oops, squishing my filling out here. Squeeze out the filling. And you just measure over here to here. Just use my finger as a guide. And there we go. Oop. I don't want to cut those in. I've cut this into 8 sandwiches, and now I'm going to put them in Ziploc bags and pop them in the freezer for later. I'll put them in there to freeze for a couple of hours at least, until they're nicely solidly frozen. You can see this lovely ice cream sandwich here. There, now, do you think that would boost your ice cream sandwich experience right there? Biting into one of those? I think it would boost my ice cream sandwich experience. Anyway, I'm going to pop these in the freezer now for a couple of hours to get them nicely solidly frozen as I pop them into their individual bags here and get them ready for the freezer. Now in they go. Here are my lovely ice cream sandwiches. This is the last one here that I haven't wrapped up yet, but there it is. A lovely ice cream sandwich made with chocolate sponge cake and Haagen-Dazs ice cream. I hope you enjoyed my video today, and I hope that you will like my video and subscribe to my channel, and I hope you will join me again next time to see what I'm cooking in my kitchen on Ruby's Classic Cooking. Bye for now.